ADF navigation. Yeah, so not the most interesting stuff, but things that you need to learn, I guess. So let's go.
A key part of any mission is the ability to navigate to and from the target. Two such tools the Hornet provides are automatic direction finding, or ADF, and tactical air navigation, or TACAN. ADF uses VOR stations located throughout the maps to get bearing-only information to them, and TACAN stations are co-located with many airfields, aircraft carriers, and some aerial refuelers. TACAN can provide both bearing and range, or just one of them depending on the source and TACAN mode used. In this lesson, we will discuss how to select ADF and TACAN navigation and the steering information provided. I currently have the lesson paused as we first discuss a few items. Press spacebar to continue.
So I'm going to try to pay real close attention to this next set of things because I've gone through this before, and it was months ago when I went through it, so I don't remember any of it. But when I did go through it before, I don't know, I got lost in the steps or something, and I could just never replicate what they were doing when I was trying to do it on my own in the simulator. So hopefully I can try to actually absorb it this time, and you'll learn from my mistakes and figure it out on your own the first time. So let's see what they have to say about how to work all this stuff.
For this lesson, we will be using an ADF example and then TACAN to navigate back to our home training base at Kobuleti. Let's start with the simpler ADF. To start, let's first select the Horizontal Situation Indicator, or HSI, for the left DDI. Press the menu Time push button on the left DDI to bring us to the tactical page. Note that this button will indicate menu when on the ground, but will show time when airborne.
Okay, that's something that I have to try to remember, is that this is going to show time, and it's not going to always, it's just it's one of those muscle memory things that you got to do. This is going to how we're going to get to, I'm guessing this button here is how we're going to flip through all the different things. So
let's press the same push button again to bring us to the support page.
Why does that bring us to the support page, though? That's confusing.
Now on the support page, press the HSI push button. The HSI is your primary navigation page that will display TACAN, waypoint, and ADF navigation data.
Okay, so they want us to go to this HSI thing, but I want to fixate on this button here for a second. So this is always going to show us the time while we're on the ground. So it just jumps back and forth between the TAC view and the support view. Okay, so this button just jumps between the two different pages. Now we can go to the Horizontal Situation Indicator so we can get the ADF.
In the center of the HSI is an aircraft symbol that represents your position from a top-down vantage. Your true airspeed is to the left of the symbol and ground speed to the right. Centered and around the aircraft symbol is a compass rose, and on the very top is a louver line that indicates your heading in regards to the compass rose. Along the top of the HSI is the SCL, or Scale, push button. Consecutive presses of this push button will cycle through the scale range options of the HSI. Press spacebar to continue.
Okay, all of that went by a little fast, and I'm the kind of person who likes to repeat things to make sure that I understand what's going on. So apparently, this is our aircraft here. We got true airspeed. So those of you who don't know, you have indicated airspeed, which is you have a little device somewhere on your aircraft, usually on the wing, that measures the speed of the air flowing by your aircraft. It measures pressure, and it tells you how fast you're actually moving through the air as the sensor tells it. That changes based on elevation, because the higher up that you go, the less pressure your sensor is going to get, so it makes it seem like you're traveling slower. This is important for when you're flying. You'll learn more about this as you learn more about how airplanes work and things like that. But your indicated airspeed up here, the sensor that you have on your plane, is always going to be different, or usually going to be pretty different from your actual airspeed and your ground speed. So your ground speed is how fast you're moving over the ground. Your true airspeed is going to be how fast you're moving through 3D space, really, as compared to your indicated airspeed here. So it's always important to understand the difference between. This is important for making sure you're still able to stay in the air. This is more important for calculating how fast you're going to get places in conjunction with the ground speed here. So the little window disappeared. I don't remember what I was supposed to do, but this little button here is highlighted, so let's press it. It didn't do anything, so okay.
An ADF is assigned to a specific frequency, which can also be stored as a preset on one of the two radios. In this case, we have the VOR ADF near Kataisi Airfield preset as Channel 2 on Radio 1. Right now, Radio 1 is set to Channel 1, as you can see in the Channel Select window for Radio 1. To select a new channel preset, place your mouse over the Radio 1 select dial and rotate the mouse wheel forward until 2 is displayed. When you do, you will soon hear the characteristic ADF identification code for that VOR station. Press spacebar to continue.
Okay, I remember why I got really confused. In the previous lessons, the text for these instructions stayed on the screen until you for the whole thing, so you could go back and read it again. For this one, it's not doing that, and I'm not sure why. That's really frustrating, and I don't know. Okay, so we can bring up the message history. That'll at least allow me to go back and look at it. It's a little inconvenient to do it this way, but okay. So in this case, it says right now Radio 1 is set to Channel 1, as you can see in the Channel Select window for Radio 1. But I don't know. I don't understand. I don't know where it says that. Where's the... They want me to adjust this thing, but they don't tell me where the radio information is, so I don't really know what to do. There's no, like, I think this is the radio, right? But I don't really know. And it doesn't provide me with any, like, highlighted things other than, hey, we're supposed to mess with this button here. So... to select a new preset channel, place your mouse over the radio button and select the mouse wheel forward until 2 is displayed. Oh, okay, this number here. That's 1, that's 2. Okay, so there was nothing on here until we adjusted the radio thing, but now this is channel 1 and we have a bunch of things in there, but now the preset for channel 2 is here. So they wanted us on channel 2, right? So message history, they want us to be on 2. When you do, we'll hear the... Well, I didn't hear anything when we did that, but... we'll press
to display the bearing to the VOR station on the HSI, we need to set the UFC ADF function select switch to Radio 1. To do this, right mouse button click on the switch.
Okay, so it's been a while since I've done a bunch of any kind of instrument training. I was partway through my instrument rating on my real-world pilot certificate, but I had to stop in the middle. But I've done a bunch of stuff on flight simulators, so I understand the basics of how like automatic direction finders and VORs and things like that work. So the beeping that we're hearing is the code that's coming from the ADF station. That helps you identify that you have the correct station, which isn't really going to matter unless you actually know what the Morse code is for that. But since we're not really worried about that, let's double check. He wants us to do the right mouse button on the switch to set it to the ADI. So
with that
ADF,
done,
sorry, ADF.
You will now note a small circle along the outside of the compass rose at the 1 o'clock position.
Yeah, this right here.
This is your bearing to the ADF signal. There is no range information though. As you can see, ADF is quite simple. Let's move on to TACAN. Press spacebar when ready.
So yeah, original radio navigation for aircraft was all automatic direction finder. You had a signal, and you knew what direction it was, but you didn't know if you were going to it or from it or anything. It just gave you a direction, and you hoped that you hoped you were going in the right direction. Later on, they came out with more advanced things that gave you, the ability to be much more precise, but ADF was the granddaddy of all radio navigation. So let's go ahead and continue on so we can get the more advanced version for military. It's going to be different from general aviation because it's TACAN, but we'll see.
In order to display all TACAN information on the HSI and HUD, press the TCN or TACAN push button on the HSI. Upon doing so, it will be boxed. Now we need to turn on the TACAN and set the code of the desired station. Press the TACAN button on the UFC.
Okay, it said it would be boxed. It doesn't do anything though, so I don't know. Hope it's doing something. All right, so I got distracted. Sorry, you're gonna have to deal with me getting distracted because I can't listen to this and then do things at the same time. And then by the time we get to playing with things, I forgot what they said. So now we need to turn on the TACAN and set the code desired. Press the TACAN button on the UFC. So we got to press the TACAN.
With the TACAN now selected on the UFC, we have 3 choices in the option select windows. TR is transmit receive and will provide both bearing and range guidance. RCV is for receive and will just provide bearing to the station. And AA is for air to air and will provide either bearing and range or just range depending on the aircraft. By default, we have TR selected, which is fine. The lower 2 option select windows allow you to select either an X or Y TACAN channel. For example, 67X. Now let's turn on the TACAN by pressing the on-off button on the UFC.
Okay, I want to go back through that for a second because I like to make sure. So transmit and receive, you get information. You're going to transmit your information and receive information. The one that kind of stood out to me was the air to air, and this is going to be for when you're getting the information from an aircraft. Remember they said at the beginning you could get TACAN information from aircraft like refuelers and things like that, so that's what that is. So we got to turn it on.
On the scratch pad, we now see that the TACAN is on and a default value of 1. Select clear on the UFC keypad to remove this.
It says something about the scratch pad. I'm not sure what that means. Let me look at the message history. On the scratch pad, we now see that the TACAN is on and a default value of 1. Oh, okay. So I think this whole thing is the scratch pad. Select clear to remove this. So I guess this is like the scratch pad. Oh, okay. I think you can type things in here to do things. We haven't gotten to that point yet, but I think that's what you can do. So we can hit clear.
We will navigate to the TACAN station at Koblady Airfield, which has the TACAN code of 67X. Enter 67 on the UFC keypad and then press the enter button on the UFC. After entering 67X and pressing enter, press spacebar.
Okay, so I think you could do 67X. It's already selected here. These little dots that are next to whatever tells you which one you have selected. So since we have X here, if we type in 67 and then it assumes the X because we have the X selected, we could change it to Y by pressing this button. But yeah, so need to turn this TACAN on, clear 67, and then because we have X selected, it should. Guessing that's what that does.
With the TACAN station now selected, we have some new information on the HUD and HSI. On the right side of the HUD, we have the range to the station in nautical miles and the 3-digit code for the station to the right of the distance value. At the top of the HUD, along the heading tape, we have a steering bar that indicates the heading to the TACAN station. On the HSI, we have much more information. In the top left corner of the HSI, we have a data block with 3 rows. The top row is bearing, distance. The second row is time to go in minutes and seconds. And the bottom row is the station ID. On the outside of the compass rose is an inverted triangle with a T in the center. This indicates your heading to the station. There is a corresponding tail on the other side of the compass rose. Between the aircraft symbol and the T symbol is a 3-pronged symbol that represents the selected TACAN station. Press spacebar to continue.
I don't think that this is working correctly. So we're supposed to be on number 2. We're supposed to have TACAN. We're supposed to turn that on. But I don't think it's working correctly. I mean, I guess maybe this is the symbol, but... Clear. On. 1, 2, clear all that out. TACAN. There's the TACAN. Okay, so it does say 67. Okay, I'm thinking that this is the, but I don't know. No, that's the, I'm pretty sure that's the autopilot bearing selector or whatever. I don't feel like this is, I don't feel like I'm doing this right.
When the TACAN station has been selected, you can use the course set switch, labeled CRS, on the top right corner of the MPCD to set a course line that is centered on the selected station. Left click rotates the course line counterclockwise, and a right mouse click moves it clockwise. When a course has been set, the course line will be displayed on the HSI and on the HUD, with dots to represent 4 and 8 degrees of course offset. Press spacebar to continue.
Yeah, I really wish that the text wouldn't go away, because now I have to bring it back up here. When it comes up, when the TACAN was selected, you can use the course set switch. Okay, so that this thing here just basically moves the course set switch, but I don't see it doing anything.
When a TACAN beacon is selected, you will also hear the coded ID. You can adjust the volume of this with the TACAN volume control knob labeled TCN on the volume panel. Press spacebar to continue.
Yeah, that's the panel. That doesn't really help me though.
You can view airfield TACAN beacon channels by going to the F10 map, clicking on an airfield, and then reading the data of the airfield. This concludes our look at the HSI, ADF, and TACAN. When you are ready, press spacebar to unpause this lesson and practice navigating using the ADF and TACAN.
Yeah. Okay, so that's the end of the lesson. This is I was this confused the last time I went through this, because I don't like, it says you're supposed to be able to click on that and it boxes it in, but then it doesn't actually change anything over here. So, but I can change the channels by doing that, and there is a little selector knob up here, but I don't get any of the information that it says I'm supposed to get. Oh, there, now it's on. Okay, I guess somehow I just wasn't turning it on. So we're on 67X, we're on transmit and receive, so now we are getting... Oh, is that what this is? Let me turn it off. Okay. So there is some change in the information over here. I'm not sure what the deal is with that, but we press the space bar, and that allows us to, I guess, head towards it. That's something about a three-pronged... Okay, yeah. I'm thinking that's what this is, right? That's what the three-pronged thing was that they mentioned before. I'm not sure where the... Okay, so we have the bearing to the signal here, I guess. This is going to be our range, I'm guessing, in nautical miles, time to get there, and the identifier for it. So, okay. Okay, so I think that's where I was getting confused before. I never actually turned it on. I pressed the button, but either you have to hold it down or you just have to keep trying it until it actually says on right here, because I never got to the on part. But now it's working, so that seems to be the way that works. All right, cool. Well, we've kind of sort of figured out how to use our automatic direction finder and the TACAN system, and I think I actually kind of know how to use it this time. So we'll come back in a little while for the next lesson, but we are finished with this one for now. So hopefully you're finding these tutorials useful, and maybe it's clearing up some questions that you might have had going through these. And I will see you for the next episode. So thanks for joining me today, and I'll see you next time. Bye, guys.